Welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, the NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. This is the review crew, and I'm your host, Keith McGinty. Fourth quarter collapses, words coming back to haunt a certain head coach, Spurs Stadium hosted the second London game, and the game of the season ending in a bit of a mismatch. This is all of the things that we'll discuss as we look back on Week 5's action tonight with the review crew. Break down the best of the action. I'm joined by some of the finest crew members. Up first, we've got one guy that we're all thankful for, statistically speaking, and it's Stu. Stu, all the way in Canada. Stu, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm still feeling full from the weekend. We had Thanksgiving dinner on the Sunday night there, and then had second Thanksgiving dinner on the Monday. So loads of turkey, a few pals over, just had a bit of a good time kind of thing, and of course caught some of the football during the festivities.
Fantastic. What did you make your own stuffing? What did you go for?
Oh, I kind of made I made the turkey, or I was in charge of the turkey and the stuffing, and then the Brussels sprouts and that as well. So, and they all turned out absolutely perfect. I have to say, turkey wise, if you actually want it to be good, definitely invest in a meat thermometer, because that was key. And because I honestly thought it was probably a bit underdone at first, because I'm a little I guess wary of salmonella is probably how I would put it. So if I'm making chicken and things, sometimes it can be a bit dry. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this just by temperature and see how it goes. And the meat thermometer told me it was ready, and turns out it was totally perfect, and it was nice and juicy, and nobody's sick yet. So
superb. Our next contributor we've got on tonight is, well, he's in and out of love more often than Taylor Swift. It's Liam, a resident Packers fan. How are we, buddy?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. In memory of Stu, I decided to put on my Oilers top this week today for
nice.
Since it's the start of NHL season, isn't it?
I think it's tomorrow. It's puck drop. So I've got a fantasy draft tomorrow lunchtime. So
I've got my better half has got some family over there, so that's the only way I've got it from that. But I try and follow NHL. I'm still trying. I still don't have a clue, but I'm trying.
I gave up after Blades of Steel '96 and the Super NES, I think it was, playing that round at my pal's bit. I remember that. Just the gloves off and the wee fighty bit.
Yeah,
that was the best bit. And my next introduction was Studs. Had anybody seen him? But there he's there. He's joining us now.
How are you doing?
It's Big Chief himself. Hi, Studs. Are you well?
All good, man. All good. Just computer issues to actually get it to jump on, and it was just taking its time. So must have been due some updates or something.
Fantastic. Well, we're glad to have you on, buddy. We're glad to have you on. We're going to get started with our kick-off question then, and the match of the week, match of the year possibly so far, was the Dallas Cowboys taking on the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara. And I don't think it was his touchdown actually, but it was after one of the touchdowns, George Kittle walked over into the end zone, struggled to lift up his top to reveal a grey t-shirt with some blue writing. Large boys, I think he was wearing. With the big blue star in the middle. Daniel loved this, of course, and it said "Fuck Dallas" on there. A nice wee bit of taunting there for Kittle. You've got to be ballsy to do that, and he did kind of back it up with the touchdowns that we're going to discuss after this. But it leads us to the question for our kick-off question then. What's your favourite piece of taunting that you've seen in sport then? It does have to be the NFL, it could be any sport here. So Liam, I'm going to start with yourself on this one. What's your favourite piece of taunting?
So I went for a homer pick this time. I've gone for the NFL. One, it was back in 2019, I think it was, and that was the year I had this one certain player on my fantasy team, so it really helped. It was Aaron Jones against the Cowboys. It was his 4-touchdown game when he was waving his way into the end zone. I think it was his third touchdown or something like that of the night. So that was good fun to see, and always helped me to a winning week, better than this year, shall I say? I think so I think he don't think he got flagged for it at the time. But I think he obviously got a fine afterwards of some money that probably didn't really matter much to him. But so.
It does add to it a wee bit. You need that little bit of needle because teams have got long memories, and it tends to always come back to bite them in the butt big time. Anyway, Stu, what about yourself?
Mine is actually more a case of taunting gone wrong, and it probably ties in quite nicely with that taunting coming back to bite you in the butt. And it is, of course, Juju Smith-Schuster a few years back dancing on the Bengals logo for his TikTok before the game against. That was back in 2020, and it was pre Joe Burrow, or was that the year Joe Burrow was? Anyway, Burrow wasn't playing, so it was in the kind of dark days, and we needed anything that we could kind of cheer on. And during the match, there was a moment where he took a reception roundabout right on the B. And Von Bell just absolutely, my namesake, Von Bell just absolutely blew him up. And we ended up kind of recovering the ball, and we won that game in the end. But yeah, it was one of my favourite kind of NFL related ones where you had somebody think they're kind of Billy Big Boots and like, haha, we own the Bengals, we'll dance on our logo. Like, it's like, we were trash at the time. Well, of course you owned us, kind of thing. But don't do it. Like, if you want to like spur on a team, that's definitely the way, if you want to motivate your opponent, that's the way to do it, is like, do it before the match. So I think in Liam's case with Aaron Jones, if you're going to taunt, you can only really do it once you've kind of got the opposition dead and buried.
Yes. Well, it tends to be, it's a thing in North American sport, especially where the logos and the iconography that goes with the teams, they take it really, really personally when people are like scuffing their feet over the logo in the middle of the park. Or there's I can't remember who it was. I saw the video clip this week of, I'm sure he was a former Cowboy player, had went and he ran all the way back after getting a touchdown, ran all the way back to the logo in the centre of the pitch, and he was just standing with it there, and it just created hell, and it was brilliant. Imagine being in the stadium and seeing that.
Yeah.
Another one, we were talking just before the podcast, and a non-football related one going to our fit, but of course, would be Graham Souness in Turkey.
Aye.
Just try to incite an absolute riot. Yeah,
like literal riot
with the big Galatasaray flag, planting it in the middle of Fenerbahce Stadium. That takes some guts to do that. Guy's mental. He's one of your heroes, of course, Studs. Have you got any suggestions then for a favourite piece of taunting?
Oh, I did have one, which Stu isn't going to appreciate, so I will come to that in a minute. But Stu reminded me of another one where they started going on about taunting going wrong, and it was the Raiders after they beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead, taking the bus,
the bus,
the car park.
That's one of my favourite ones too.
So thank you for reminding me of that one, Stu. And obviously that didn't work out too well for the Raiders in the end up.
So what happened with the bus in the car park?
Basically, the Raiders beat the Chiefs for the first time in an age under John Gruden, and they decided to start doing victory laps around the car park at Arrowhead in their team bus. So obviously the Chiefs took that a little bit personally, and then went and absolutely scalped them the next time they played.
Oh, that's fine. I was thinking that just the insurance in the bus bit had been pretty good. The windows would have been getting put in. Can just imagine that happening here in Scotland after a game in down the East End or down Govan Way. That'd be quite interesting.
Oh, no.
The other one that I remember more recently, and it's purely because we all love our thick boy touchdowns and when the offensive linemen get involved in touchdowns and things like that. But one of the more rarer ones is probably an offensive lineman taunting. And Stu, I don't know if you remember this one for the championship game last year, where Andrew Wiley actually got flagged for taunting as he ran by the Bengals D lineman doing that to him.
Yeah, I remember.
Just sat wiggling the shoulders and kind of laughing at him as he ran by him.
I actually thought you might have chose something like, because again, it was just I mentioned it before the show, and when you weren't here and we were wondering if you were going to make it. It was one of the ones I actually kind of liked as well for a Chiefs angle was Tyreek Hill. We used to do things like as a during game taunting. Like, do you remember one of his celebrations where he obviously went on one of his mega runs, ended up at the end of the end zone, turned around, so he was standing backwards before the line, then just backflipped in. However, to score the touchdown as well. I think that's
the
Bucks. Was that the Bills or Bucks? It was the Bucks.
The
yeah.
Bucks. Aye. That's when
he
he come off to that one and he done the... Oh, who was the guy that he pretended to phone the Coast Guard and do the help is on the way? Tyreek Hill done that game because I think he had something like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first quarter or the first half. He just had a ridiculous start to that game. And it was the Tyreek Hill one that I still can't believe he gets away with is when he runs by with the deuces. Every single time he gets a breakaway, they still do it. And don't get me wrong, I love to see it when he was at the Chiefs, but it's blatantly taunting. So how he never gets flagged?
I love that when he's with the Chiefs, it's fine, but now he's with the Dolphins, he should be getting flagged.
It did always amaze me though, even with the Chiefs, because it is blatantly taunting as he runs by with the deuces up, saying he's too fast for you. It's taunting as much as it's a bit good fun.
It's not quite gone to like the Kittle level of being direct to that fan base. He's need to up his game a wee bit, flip it around a wee bit at least, Tyreek. Okay, very good. Let's get to which was the game of the weekend, game of the year. It was the 2 top tips you would probably think for certainly going towards the Super Bowl with the way they had started. I think the Eagles are maybe flying under the radar a wee bit because they've not been playing as well, but they've been taking care of business. But everybody's been really excited, especially about this San Francisco 49ers team. But the Cowboys were, I think that's because Dan talks them up a fair bit in the podcast for the crew. But these were 2 teams that were certainly heading in the right direction and it looked as if it was going to be a clash of the Titans. Didn't quite turn out that way, did it? Stu, I'll come to you. Talk us through the story of the game.
It's one of these things because obviously we kind of big upped this game on the preview show last week as well. Like we're all saying, like, this is exactly just as you described it. Like this could possibly be game of the year, and all the kind of chat was around, well, is Brock Purdy going to be able to keep doing Brock Purdy things against this Cowboys defense, which, like, through the first few games of the season had looked outstanding. And there was some kind of rumors of, well, San Francisco's defense is also one of the better defenses in the league, but the Cowboys is probably just that little bit better. So it's going to be a tight game regardless of what happens. And I think all of us picked it to be within a score as well. Like, in terms of I had the Niners winning. I think Dan, he'd obviously went Cowboys kind of thing as well. I can't remember who everybody picked, but the score, it ended up, despite us all think it's going to be a tight game and everything, the final score was 42-10, which, to be honest, is what I was expecting the Eagles-Rams to be. So I don't know, it was one of those games where it just seemed to be that the San Francisco offense just kept clicking the way they've been clicking against anybody they put. It doesn't seem to matter like what the level of the opposition is that they're facing. They just do what they want, kind of thing. Because like whether it's McCaffrey getting free or this time you've got Kittle getting 3 touchdowns, and it didn't matter that Parsons there. I know he's maybe slightly knocked there, banged up, and that is part of the story as well. I do need to kind of give the that side of it too with the Cowboys. Like they do have a few injuries on defense now, and I think that's maybe where it ended up being the way it was. But on the other side of the ball, you had Dak Prescott, who he was 3 interceptions on the night. He was trying to force the ball to people, and it just was not going because the Niners' defense was everywhere. It seemed to be everywhere he was putting the ball. They were there. They were knocking it down. They were intercepting it. They were, turning things aside. They were stopping people, kind of going for get the first down. So I don't know, it was just basically a tale of 2 defenses, and San Francisco's being fantastic again, and the Cowboys being injured and subpar.
Is that how you saw it as well, Liam? That it was maybe a story of the 2 quarterbacks, how Dak was trying to force it maybe that wee bit too much, but Brock Purdy was just doing, as Stu said, Brock Purdy things. He was just nice and calm and relaxed. They knew that the team trusted in him, that Shanahan trusted in him and that everything was set up for him and the team just to do their thing and be able to run up a big and score on them. I don't know what's more embarrassing, the Cardinals winning or getting battered like that by the 49ers.
No, well, yeah, like, I suppose, as you say, Purdy's just kind of working in the system, isn't he? But the weapons he's got, it's just, as you say, it's 1 week it's one player, next week it's another player. Just doesn't really matter. You can try and negate, I suppose, like negate someone's like, I know CMC had a good game, but like for his standards, he wanted like 50 odd yards rushing. Still got his touchdown for like that nice was like some record, one near record of 14th consecutive touchdowns games or something like that. So
yes,
like that's a quiet game for him. He's still running well, and but yeah, I don't know. It was, and then they kind of had the luck on the side that first kind of turnover when I think it was Pollard lost the ball, and obviously then bounced off another player running by, another 49er player running by to keep it in play, and then the guy got able to jump on it, sort of thing. So I was like, well, yeah, it's gonna be a 49ers game, isn't it? So, but yeah, they're just impressive, aren't they? I think now, as you say, Dallas, okay, they're hurting in defense. If the Niners normally always have injuries all over the place, but they seem to be doing all right this season. I'll probably jinx that now. CMC's probably going to die a death next week, isn't he? But,
well, that was the story of it, Studs, was the battle between the Cowboys defense, which was been much lauded, and Stu's mentioned there's been a few injuries, which is maybe holding them back a wee bit, against the 49ers offense, which just seems to be clicking. It's we talked about it previously being like the Ajax of 1970s, where everybody can do multiple things to help the team. We've got players like Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel blocking for the McCaffrey to get the runs in. Everybody's invested in it fully. Where did you see it go really, really wrong for the Cowboys?
I think the problem the Cowboys had is that the 49ers offense is really a death by 1,000 cuts. It's like, how do you want us to beat you? Do you know what I mean? So, and I just don't think the Cowboys could live up to that. I mean, we've been bigging up the Cowboys defence. They had that big first game of the season where they absolutely dominated. They dominated the Pats last week again, absolutely killing Mac Jones. And then this week it's very much just meh. Do you know what I mean? So the Cowboys defence just didn't look good. And again, Dak's obviously not helping them with 3 interceptions. They've had the other turnovers, as Liam mentioned, the Pollard one as well. So these things are going to hurt the defence as well. So as much as the defence weren't great as well, it's all about the kind of complementary football side. If the offence aren't doing their job, the defence is going to be on the field more. These are big guys. They're going to be getting tired quicker. And if they're constantly having to jump back on the field to pick up the pieces after an offensive turnover in offence, then they're going to be absolutely goosed.
Stu, tell us a bit then about the first touchdown that Brock Purdy threw to George Kittle in the first quarter.
Oh, the the one that was almost an identical play to who was that? Because that's
Lions.
The Lions.
The Lions one.
Lions.
Yeah, because Sam Laporta. Yeah, that was hilarious because they both went to the same school as well, the same university. So I wonder if that's a play, it's a tight end play that's been drawn up there.
Iowa Hawkeyes.
The Iowa Hawkeyes, that's it. Like, I wonder if both offensive coordinators this week have just went, you know what? Give us your most ridiculous tight end play that you had from that school, and it just happened that they've both ran the play this week. I know that the Lions did it earlier in the day, but no, it was one of those ones. It was the passing kind of back and forth, and then I guess like for the defense, let's see it from their side of view. They're looking at it going, okay, they flipped it off. Let's just get in there, blitz the zone, try and get there and kind of stop the ball coming out. Then all of a sudden the ball's flipped back to Purdy, and then Kittle has been left because they're blitzed, so he's essentially on his own, or he's against one safety, I think, or something like that. So as soon as you've got George Kittle, who's a man mountain, it's kind of not quite Travis Kelce, but he's a monster. So you have him up there against one safety, so you're getting big yards anyway. But the fact that all he had to do was just shake off that one guy, and then away he went off to the end zone. So yeah, no, it was also just hilarious because it was identical, like even to the same side of the field. that the Lions play had been earlier that day for Laporta as well. So I particularly enjoyed that kind of thing. So it was,
apparently
made my Thanksgiving.
Apparently, Shanahan came out and said that they had been practicing it, and then saw the Lions do it so well. They're like, "Oh well, might as well actually put it in.
Just do it.
Just do it."
So they say it's a copycat league. So I mean, I guess they just literally just went, "Screw it, we'll just do it."
Shanahan having his wee, is it Shanahan that goes for his wee meditation before matches? Upside down, having a wee think
in the
about
cupboard.
we're going to do this. Yeah, in the cupboard, upside down, like Batman, coming out with that. Absolutely terrific. Great start for the 49ers. And as you said, did have that a wee bit of luck with that one. It wasn't until the second quarter before the game really burst into life. Another 2 touchdowns for the 49ers. Next one coming from for George Kittle again from Purdy for 38 yards. Studs, you want to talk us through this one?
Yeah, again, it's very much a case of how do you give Kittle that much room? He's already hurt them previously in the flea flicker, and to give a guy that much room, that don't get me wrong, he's a big guy. He's not exactly lightning quick, but for him to scamper for 38 yards is it was too easy for them at that point. They'd got the ball off. It was a punt. I thought that was off the fumble, so I was just double checking. But Dallas had punted it away, and then Purdy just did what he did. He's, as you said, nice and calm, composed in the pocket. His offensive line were holding off that Dallas rush, and Kittle's got open for him.
Amazing. Christian McCaffrey got the next touchdown for the 49ers. How impressive has he been in this team, Liam? Have you been surprised at just how well? We all knew what a talent he was. He was always go really, really high in our fantasy drafts within the crew. Have you been impressed at just how easily he's slotted into this team?
Well, I don't think I've not been surprised by anyway. He is. Even when he was at the Panthers, he was something else. Just he was like the one man show really in the Panthers, wasn't he? But
Absolutely.
As we kind of commented on all the talent they've got on the offense, and he's still the first, well, probably, if not the first player you think of. He's doing everything, isn't he? Still, I know he's not had had the Triple Crown yet with his, like he did last year. All the touchdowns, but his streak is, what is it? As I said earlier, it's 14 straight games with a touchdown.
Wow.
And you don't really see it stopping, do you, with the way they're playing?
No.
So, and I think he did lose. Did he lose a fumble in this game because he rolled on top of a player? Like last week he did that, and he got into touchdown. Like last week he made it in, and this week he rolled and he lost it. He's like, well, take your chances, I suppose.
It was really unfortunate. He rolled on top. There was just no part of him touched the ground for him to be grounded then, and it just kind of fell away from it. Wasn't as if it was really ripped away. It just fell away from them, and the defender managed to take it in, overturn. He did kind of make up for it though. Did McCaffrey?
It's
terrific player.
One thing I was just going to say, one thing to say on him as well, because I was just looking at the stats there. Like, so he's sitting on 510 yards rushing on the season. Second place player is Devon Achane, who's 460, so he's 50 yards back. He's now injured, so he's not going to be catching him. Then you've got Zach Moss, third, on 445, and obviously he's still playing, but who knows how much his rushing capacity is going to be eaten into now that Taylor's coming back for the Colts as well. He's been paid and he seems to want to play. So McCaffrey, as long as he stays injury free, it looks like he's probably got the rushing title sewn up already, kind of thing. Like he's just that good, and never mind the fact he receives as well. So
the curious thing in this game was that he didn't even have the most rushing yards for the 49ers. No. It was Jordan Mason.
Yeah. A good player as well. That Niners like Russian kind of factory built, or they seem to just kind of churn guys out. And then they've got Eli Mitchell, who's injured still, but like also lurking in the wings, waiting to come in. So I mean, you'll probably see them getting more snaps towards the end of the year as well. Just as the Niners obviously head towards. I mean, I'm going to call it this early. I'm going to say they're probably making the playoffs. Probably.
I think the odds are
this
there.
point in time. Yeah, but I think towards the end of the season, you might see Jordan Mason and Eli Mitchell kind of picking up a few more snaps, like just to make sure McCaffrey's ready to go for the playoffs. But yeah, until then, that guy's just going to keep scoring touchdowns and keep hammering the ball. So
I think that's the thing as well with the 49ers. Everybody now, after Dallas was going to be their big test. That defense, how could they do? Could they move the ball? I think right away, if you're a 49ers fan, the next game you're looking at is the 3rd of December when you're travelling to into Philadelphia, play the Eagles, and you're probably looking at that's the championship game based on the two teams, because the Eagles haven't had top form yet. They're doing enough. But that again, the offensive lines and defensive lines for both teams, seeing those come up against each other. I think it's December 3rd. I think they play each other or something like that.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
That's going to be a game to watch.
Yeah, it certainly is. The 3rd of December for the next one. Before then, they've got Browns, Vikes, Bengals, Jags, Bucks still going strong. You never know. The Seahawks, and then the Eagles.
So they're basically going to be getting into that with an unbeaten record.
Both teams could.
Hey, the Bengals are back.
You almost sounded like you believed that there, mate.
I want to believe. I want to believe. It's like Santa. Santa, you're real.
If Joe Burrow's not injured before that game, I think there's a real fear he could leave that game injured.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
Fred Warner getting to him.
Yeah.
Next up, then the Cowboys themselves actually got a touchdown. Dak Prescott from the shotgun with a nice deep pass.
I like the way you said that.
To Big Dick Turpin on the right hand side, deep in the right hand side, runs it in for a 26-yard touchdown. A good bit of play for Dak. It's shown that he has the vision, he's got the class, he's got the arm strength to get it out there. I think he was a wee bit hesitant at times, just from the bits that I saw of the matchup. But you would be too when you're up against the 49ers D and the umpteen threats that you've got that can coming at you. McCaffrey runs in the 3rd touchdown for the 49ers before later on in the 3rd quarter. I think it's 3rd quarter that just checking. 3rd quarter before Kittle gets his hat trick, and it was a bit of a doing for them there. Stu, I'm quite come to you. It's all very good getting all these touchdowns, but Moody has to make the extra points, and he's been doing very well in his rookie year. You happy with how the young man's doing?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you lads all laughed when I took him with the last pick at the Dynasty League draft as well.
We only laughed because you took it last. We all thought you would take him much, much higher.
Right, okay, good point. No, I figured I was either going with him or the Pats kicker, but it's just that way I kind of looked at it and went like, well, there's two kind of actual drafted kickers, and I went, well, Moody's actually going to be on a good team, and they're probably going to be scoring points. No offense, Scud, although I know Scud's pretty sad after the week. Although, no, he's not sad. He's accepted his fate, I think, for the Pats this year. But no, Moody's been absolutely he's been fantastic. I know one of my best friends here, Joe, going into the season, he was very worried because he thought we're giving up a sure thing kicker because we don't want to pay him, as the way he was putting it, and we've decided to go with a rookie, and that spells disaster. He's basically been burned by the Niners so many times in his life, he kind of just only ever sees the negative. So I was trying to say, I was like, look, Moody looks so good in college. I'm like, there's a reason they picked him. Well, they did in the draft, kind of thing, whether it's early for kickers or not. And so far, the guy just doesn't look like he feels pressure, kind of thing. Although in the Cowboys game, there wasn't really much pressure on him at all. But anytime I've seen him play this season, I've been impressed by what he's done, and he just seems to be like a metronome, which is what you want for your kickers. Just that he has the same predictable run up, his timing's good, and he's just going to put it through the sticks. So yeah, no, I've liked Moody.
What about the Cowboys? Is there any more that the McDaniels could have done for the team? Has he maybe set them up wrong? Has he just been unlucky that he come up against a team that is just absolutely clicking at this point What do you think, Liam?
I don't know. I suppose you can always say do something better than what he did after the result, but it was kind of watching Dak. I know he threw the 3 interceptions, but also he had that good touchdown throw, but he was kind of thrown up there a lot. And I don't know if that was just desperation, but sometimes you're like, I think they just couldn't get the intermediate or the kind of short game going either. I think they were just kind of struggling all around. I think it was just one of those days where anything they tried wasn't working. They couldn't get the run going. I think Pollard had like 30-odd yards or something on the ground.
29.
Yeah, so just couldn't really get the ball moving. And I suppose burn the tape and move on, hopefully. So I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Studs, looking at the Cowboys schedule, they have the Giants. Oh, sorry. No, that's how they just beat them. They're at the Chargers next, still over the West Coast to play the Chargers. Then they've got the Rams. May as well just stay there. It's like London games for them. Oh no, Rams at home. Then they've got the Eagles in the start of November. Not a bad wee run there. Chargers are a bit hit and miss at times, but they seem to be starting to edge towards cooking. Herbert's been doing quite well with them. Rams, maybe with Cup coming back, you've got Irn-Cru there doing well. It's a hard wee run of games that the Cowboys have got. This could really make or break their season.
Yeah, 100%, and that you're going to find out a lot about the character and what Mike McCarthy can actually do with that team, especially on offense. I think Dan Quinn on defense, you know what you're going to get, but McCarthy calling the shots on offense is going to be what's key. I mean, you're looking at it. CD Lamb has been pretty much posted missing since the start of the season, and granted, there's been games they've not had to do anything on offense, like Patriots, for example. But when they're asking the offense to actually do things like they had to with the Cardinals, they had to rely on Dak. They couldn't get it done. Now, is that down to McCarthy as a play caller? Liam, you'll probably have more experience seeing that side than the rest is. Or is it down to Dak? For me, I just don't think Dak's looked like... it was a horrific injury he had a few years ago. He's not looked like the same quarterback at all. He almost looks scared to kind of run, essentially, which was a big part of his game previously, was his scrambling ability, and he just looks scared to move off of that bit, move out of that pocket to get the space and give his wide receivers a bit more time.
That really is the difference between the very top QBs in the league. You're looking at Josh Allen had a monster game at the weekend there, really dragging his team forward. Ultimately, it wasn't to be, but that's the QBs that kind of really elevate their team then, really, isn't it? Right? Yeah. So, anything else on the Cowboys 49ers before we move on?
I have something related, but remind me when we get to the Bills game, because it's also to do with that. So remind me.
Well, I tell you what, it would be a lovely little segue as we head into the Jags at the Bills for London Part 2.
Okay. Well, I'll do it now then.
Seamless link.
Wow, we're almost like a real media crew, except totally unplanned and all over the place. No, it was to talk a little bit about how the odds have changed, like for the Super Bowl. Now, it's something that I find interesting about this is obviously like the Niners are now far and away the favourites, but they're sitting like plus 375 as of this morning, with the Chiefs second at plus 550. Eagles are plus 700, and then the segue link is the Bills are still fourth. Like they're currently ranked above the Dolphins in terms of being favourites so they're fourth favourites to win the Super Bowl currently as of this morning at plus 850, even with what we're about to talk about. So I just thought that was interesting.
I think that's probably because of the performance that they'd had maybe the week before, and just showing what they are capable of. Maybe mitigating the circumstances, travelling across the Atlantic to play in the London game. You could maybe understand that's why. But once they get back to upstate New York, you can see them getting a wee bit more settled.
The second part of this, just one thing before we keep going. The second part to this is that...
Well, Stu, hold on, I'm going to stop you a wee second, bud. Your mic's just went a wee bit haywire there. It sounded pretty Dalek-ish, so I'm just going to come to Studs. Studs, the London game, one of our good friends from the crew, Grant, was down at it. Looked incredible. He says it was the loudest he's heard in a stadium ever. I've got to say, I'm incredibly jealous. I would love to have been at the game, and I think that was the pick of the bunch of the London games, wasn't it? Really getting down to see the Bills. So I'm glad they got down to it. I'm glad they had a great time. Thank you very much to them for sharing these pictures. We had them up on the crew's social media over the weekend, which was terrific. He's a top guy, and thanks very much for the chicken that he bought us for dinner when we were out watching the game. Studs, what did you make of the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Buffalo Bills?
I think I'm probably the most disappointing thing of the weekend was the fact that we didn't see Grant jump through a table when he was down there with the Bills Mafia. I need to be honest. So when he's listening
Sammy
to this,
throwing them through it, to be fair.
Sammy rock bottom through the table. For me, I thought the Bills looked sluggish. There's no getting away from it. I think the Jags being here for the 2 weeks and staying on London time, I think certainly helped them. Well, say helped him. I don't think it helped Trevor Lawrence because I don't think he actually thought it was okay. I don't think he's kind of took that step forward this season that we're expecting. I think he made a couple of really big throws. There's one that sticks in my mind. I think it was the first quarter. I think it was a third down to Christian Kirk as he came across the field to get the first down, which I think eventually led to the Travis Etienne touchdown. And then there was a massive play to Calvin Ridley late in the game on a third down, right over the head of the safety, which Ridley caught on the sideline. So there's plays there where you're seeing Lawrence kind of making them and pushing the team forward, but just don't think we're seeing enough of it from Lawrence. I think the rest of the team's kind of carrying him just now. And again, he had an very almost costly fumble for them as well, kind of later in the game, which really could have hurt them.
25 completions from 37 attempts, so a rating of 67.6%. Saying that, he still got 315 yards in the game. It didn't feel like that type of game, though. It did feel a lot more sloppy than maybe the score 25-20 suggested. We were watching it, a few of the crew got together to watch in Glasgow, and it didn't seem a dominant performance from either team. It wasn't until they were a fair bit behind did the Bills actually wake up and really push them. A curious performance. Liam, what did you make of the match?
Yeah, as you say, it was kind of curious. The Bills, they kind of, as you say, didn't really wake up till really late in the game. I know there was some chat about them just arriving on the Friday before the game. Like, is that too late to arrive into London? I know they used to flying around the place, but I suppose all the time zone difference. But it was like the first 4 drives, they had only like 54 yards and like 16 plays or something like that, with something around. And they just didn't. And I just couldn't get anything going. They couldn't get the run going. I was quite impressed with the Jags. They just seemed to stuff the run completely. They just totally got. Yeah, they couldn't do anything at all. Even with Allen kind of running around there as well. But to be fair though, like Big still had a good game. So did Gabe Davis. He got I think first 100-yard game as well. Got another touchdown again. So
100 yards for him.
If you just looked at the stats, you'd be like, it's pretty good game. But it was all kind of late on fourth quarter, as I suppose Josh Allen does. He's never going to give up. He always knows he's going to keep pushing that ball. So, but it was still a little too late, I suppose.
It was 11-7 until the 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. 11-7.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to kind of bring that up as well, and I was also going to say that, like, on your point in the rushing there, Liam, like they only had 20, or because I rewatched the highlights this morning, and one of the things I'd wrote down was the Bills had 26 yards a total rushing, with I think it was 7 or 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like they just could not run the ball at all. So that Jacksonville defense just seemed to be swallowing everything.
Yeah, I think James Cook had minus yards on like 5 attempts. Do you know what I mean? So
-4.
He's been their kind of driving force in the running game, and he's looked good, but I couldn't get it going at all this weekend.
One guy who could get the run game going, and it was much to Shaney's delight, as he had them in his fantasy team out with the crew. And the full of sportsters heard this was Travis Etienne, 136 yards with 2 rushing touchdowns. The guy was shown some of the form that we'd seen last year, maybe been eluding them a wee bit at times this year, but it was a special performance and a good way to finish the London games for the Jags there.
Did they not have 100 yards last week as well? Over 100 yards against the Falcons, so he's really enjoyed London.
He absolutely has, yes. 55 yards last week against the Falcons. Didn't get a touchdown though, but his longest was only 7. No, this is his first over 100 yards then for the season. He really did enjoy it. And Liam, you were mentioning there that the Bills hadn't arrived till Friday. I'd heard that it was actually Wednesday, but they'd also taken the Jaguars residence where they'd been staying. I think the Grove was one place, can't remember the other one that I'd heard. And the home team gets the choice. So the Jags had been there for a week already, but the Bills have come in, and I don't know if it's a wee bit
made them move.
They made them move. That's if you've got every little inch by inch, we talk about it every week. You get any way to if you can unsettle them. They're getting into the routine.
Yeah. That's so classic of setting the fireworks, fans setting off the fireworks at the team hotel before the night before, isn't it?
That's the pre-match taunting thing I was taught. That's almost like Juju dancing on the logo. The Bills tried it against the Jaguars, and we see how it worked out for them. But
did not work at all for them. It did not work at all. Thanks, Bigsby. The backup running back there for the Jags got 41 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. That's for the season.
He was only 8 yards for 3 carries. He wasn't quite as involved in the rushing. One of my big takeaways actually for this one, and I don't know if it's related to the travel and just timing being off for the Bills, was the amount of flags that they were taking on defence. And they were all justified. I know you can maybe say, referees kind of sometimes weigh things in the favour of certain teams if Taylor Swift's involved. But sorry, I couldn't resist. I don't actually believe that, studs. Anyway, the Bills though, every single one of them. There was so many neutral zone infractions or false starts, from the defence, where you had guys trying to kind of get in early to get after Lawrence or try and stop. I mean, maybe just try and stop Travis Etienne as well to try and kind of get him before he's at full speed coming out of the backfield. But that was my kind of takeaway was for the Bills from their side. Their offense never got going until the 4th, but also their defense, it just seemed really discombobulated. And whether some of that's to do with the injuries, because I know during the game, because they lost Milano, didn't they? Mad Matt.
That's a big.
His name is.
Out for the season. It looks like he'll be out with the rest of the season with a broken leg, I think, a broken ankle.
And
leg fracture.
Yeah, and ACL, I think he did as well, because I know they were saying there was ligament damage too, because even with the broken leg might be enough to keep him out for the year, but I think there was the ligament damage too is the thing that's really ended it. And then they lost a lineman as well, was Daquan Jones, so he's out too, so you can see maybe that's why they were struggling a bit to stop the run as the game went on, because I think it was one of the rushing touchdowns later on from Etienne or maybe never got a touchdown. There was one run I remember where the Jags really needed a first down, and he seemed to get swallowed by a crowd of folk, and then just somehow appeared at the other side of it. It was how did he do that? He just kind of Houdini'd his way through, kind of thing, the defensive line or whatever that was coming in for the Bills.
He'd been in London. He'd been in London for a couple of weeks. He knew the subways now.
His underground.
Knew what line to go on. That is it.
Yeah.
One thing I just want to touch on before we move on to have a wee look at the Bills was the wide receiver core for the Jags, and it seemed to work very well together. Calvin Ridley getting 122 yards on 7 receptions, 17 yards per reception, which is terrific. Christian Kirk chipping in as well with 78 yards, but it was Zay Jones, who got the touchdown again. The guy seems to be a favourite for Trevor Lawrence to actually get into the end zone there, which it shows that they've really got that wee bit of variety and really have threats across the field whenever it comes to that. Is this the start, you think, Studs, of what we hoped for at the start of the season for the Jaguars, with Trevor Lawrence having such a breakthrough season last year, with the new head coach? Are we starting to see maybe the fruits of the hard work in the off season really starting to come now? What do you think?
I think we are. I mean, you seen week one, you seen a wee glimpse of Calvin Ridley where he had a big day, and then he just seemed to kind of go anonymous for the next kind of couple of weeks, and then he's bounced back again this week. So, I mean, the building blocks are definitely there for them to kind of kick on and see how they go. But it's really the Jags are going to go how Trevor Lawrence goes. If he can tidy up the kind of fumbles and things like that, then I think the Jags will be absolutely fine. They've got a decent defence. It's just all about how Trevor Lawrence can go, and you're seeing Etienne starting to build as well now. Obviously, he should take all the confidence in the world for being over in London and really kick on. But it's all about what Trevor Lawrence does.
Fantastic. One last wee thing on the Jags is just looking at their schedule coming up. That's them head back stateside now, with a win there. 2 wins in the over in London, so happy hunting ground for them. They are back to play the Colts this week, and then they've got the New Orleans Saints and then Steelers before they play the 49ers after their bye week in November. So a good wee run of games for them to go back to. Colts with a banged up quarterback. Saints had a big week score at the weekend, but they've not looked as impressive as everybody had hoped. You've got the Steelers again. That was a surprising win for them at the weekend. So a good wee run of games for them coming up. Challenging games, but if they can get a couple of wins out of that, they've just got to really. Their confidence will just soar from that, you would expect.
The Saints D is going to be a challenge for them, because that's how the Saints have been kind of going this year, is on the back of that defence. Derek Carr's not kicked on, as you mentioned, but the defence is elite.
Absolutely. Okay, the Bills then. Looking at the Josh Allen, how do we think he did then in this game? Stu, I'll come to you for that one. He had a completion rating of 67.5%, pass for 359 yards. Yeah. Wow, that's impressive. It's got such a high QB passing yardage with only 2 touchdowns and still coming away with the loss there. Quite be feeling a wee bit hard done by there.
Yeah, I sort of felt bad for Josh Allen, and I guess, you know, as it were, I'd like to see the Jaguars win, especially in London, but I did feel bad for all those Bills fans that went down there, because, you know, they saw Josh Allen like actually put on a show and he looked good, kind of thing, and he was definitely playing really well, but just for some reason things just weren't clicking the rest of the way, like, because for him, Josh Allen, like, he's, you know, I just pulled up the stats there as well, he's sitting second, like, in QBR, whatever, in the whole NFL, just after Brock, obviously after Purdy, who we were talking about earlier, but, you know, he's sitting ahead of Tua and Mahomes and Goff, and Brian's favourite, Baker Mayfield, is down there in 6th. Like, but yeah, Allen was good. He seemed to be doing everything he could, and especially in that 4th quarter, you could see him just like ramping it up and try to put it into high gear and just kind of make things happen for his team to give them that chance. And they did, you know, despite it being 11-7, they had chances to go, but, you know, obviously just ended up being their defence couldn't get the job done against the Jaguars, and you could see almost it was like the tiredness crept in, because that's when Etienne really started kind of busting off the bigger runs, or kind of getting those like 8-9 yards, kind of 36-yard runs or whatever, like for first downs and touchdowns. But yeah, Josh Allen, he impressed me, kind of thing. Like, it just seemed to be that everyone else was so discombobulated. The team couldn't the team can kind of get it over the line for him. And so no fault of his though.
No, the two wide receivers, these two main targets at wide receiver, then Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, both getting 100 yards, 121 yards for Diggs, and both getting a touchdown as well. I'm going to be really, really disappointed in not actually seeing out the win. We talked about last week, Liam, about the double Ds for the Buffalo Bills, Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox.
Mm-hmm.
Both had, Kincaid had 19 yards from 2 receptions and 17 yards for Knox off of 3 receptions. You've got to be expecting a wee bit more from these guys. Knox, especially, has got that bit more experience. Should they be contributing a wee bit more to this team?
I suppose it was all off season. They're talking about Kincaid being the kind of, I don't know, the joker in the pack. They're going to use him everywhere, use him as a wide receiver basically. And it's not, I don't know, it's just not quite happened. I suppose it's just a rookie getting integrated into the team more. I don't know, or it's come to actual real NFL time, real games, not pre-season, actually going up against real teams. You know, they can't really try those kind of trick plays, putting him out wide. He's got to be in the line sort of thing, helping protect him a bit more. But it was kind of the other, who was it, Harty, as he's now called, I think, was the other wide receiver. I think had a couple of 2 kind of splash plays kind of in there. And as Stu was saying, it wasn't as if the stats kind of showed they had a bad game, you know, like overall as an offense. It was really just the defense. They just seemed to be crippled by injuries. Obviously, they lost. Was it White last week to Achilles as well? And I suppose I've got, Von Miller's maybe due back. I know he was on the sideline with his top on at the game.
He did get a couple of snaps.
Yeah.
So if they can maybe ramp him back up, I suppose that's a big figurehead. Maybe they can get him back into the defense to try and steady that.
Need to, because he'll need to be in there for Milano. But just on the tight ends, that's one thing. Like coming out of that game, I know Kincaid, he left the game for a bit as well, like for a head injury evaluation. So he did come back into it, so he might be all right. But I know he's going to be going into the concussion protocol this week. And the other news on Dawson Knox is he's came out with a wrist injury and is now doubtful heading into next weekend. So they could have both Kincaid and Knox out. That was the news that kind of came out this morning. So there's maybe one of the reasons that the tight ends didn't figure quite as much. Like Kincaid actually left the game for a bit, but Knox, they were using him more as a blocker because apparently the wrist injury and he couldn't catch. So that's another guy I have in the Dynasty League, so that hurts me. So add another tight end to the bloody IR for me. Like.
Well, the Bills are 3-2, and next week they're going on to play the Giants.
A nice get right game, that one. So.
Poor G-men.
It will be. They've got actually maybe a favourable wee run of games. So they've got the Giants, then they're away to the Pats, home to the Bucks, and then they're away to the Bengals. So nice wee run of games there. They could maybe start getting a few more W's on there before.
They're only winning one of those. They're only winning the one against the G-men, and then there's other two. Baker, you'll see
Pats,
to them, and then
Baker.
And then the Bengals will definitely winning.
Superb. Anything we want to mention else about the London games that you've seen so far? What do you prefer, Wembley or Spurs Stadium?
Spurs.
Studs.
I think Spurs Stadium.
Yeah.
I think the Spurs Stadium looks fantastic. Just the full setup just looks unreal.
Certainly does. Hopefully, we'll get a wee trip with all the crew down there next season. Look forward to doing that.
Hey,
Let's
Keith,
head in. Go for
Keith, it. Just to ruin it again, I'm going to seg all the way back to what I tried to segue in with. The last part of it, when I turned into a Dalek, was that the Cowboys are actually still the 7th favourites. So it's like Bills are 5th, Dolphins, then the Cowboys. So they're still like considered one of the top teams, like kind of going for the Super Bowl this year. And I realise it's recency bias, but that must be based on previous weeks kind of thing, and also the amount of Cowboys fans that are just like throwing money at their team kind of thing.
That must be the defense then. That's really
That's
keeping them
carrying
in there, hanging them in. Certainly, if they can do that, then they've certainly got a chance. Okay, grudge match. The next one, we'll head to Mile High for the New York Jets 31
Wilson
versus the
versus
Denver
Wilson.
Broncos.
This is a true Wilson squared.
Wilson cubed, like
Wilson
Garrett.
cubed, of course.
Go for it then, Studs. Tell us a wee bit about this matchup then. There was a wee bit of needle behind it.
There's 100% needle behind this, and I think that translated onto the field. And you could see it from Nathaniel Hackett at the end, where I wasn't sure what was on his face until I actually heard them saying, "Oh, by the way, that's the kind of the black stuff that the linemen wear on to keep the light out their eyes, essentially."
Is that?
Aye, so they were all going up, giving him cuddles after the game, and it had smudged off onto his face. So I was kind of wondering what it was when I seen it, but I think for me, you kind of seen how this was going to go when you had the Broncos' first possession, they muffed the punt, and then the Jets get the ball close to the Broncos' end zone, and they take a field goal. So you could have seen how the start of the game was going to go. For me, it was very much going to be mistakes were going to kind of kill this game. But as I say, obviously, Broncos for me are awful. Having seen most of the teams this year, I would have probably the Broncos as the worst team in the league. I would have them below the Arizona Cardinals, who I think have been frisky in all their games. I'd have them behind the Bears because you've seen some signs of life in the Bears. And I know the Broncos beat the Bears last week, but they still looked awful for 3 quarters of that game. They're just so bad.
Stu, tell us then a bit about Zach Wilson. Much maligned. He was feeling bad last week after the loss to Kansas City Chiefs. No real much that he could have done there, but he was saying that it was on him. He was the reason that they lost the match to the Chiefs.
Yeah,
how did they do this one?
I mean, when you look at the raw stats, again, it's not that outstanding. I mean, 19 of 26 for 199 yards. Was sacked 4 times, threw an interception, no touchdowns. So his QBR was only 39.1. But I mean, what he did do was he ran the ball okay because he was 26 yards for 3. So he kept things moving. But what I would say is going back to what Studs was talking about in terms of the game when I was. Again, I kind of half caught it when I was cooking cooking stuff for Thanksgiving dinner. So I rewatched the highlights this morning. The game was actually even worse than I remember it being. You could honestly have replaced the commentary on the 10-minute highlight video and start the Benny Hill theme music, like on loop. Because the thing is, it was like both teams were making mistakes. Because in the worst one for me for the Jets side and Zach Wilson, I don't know if it's really on him or not, was they'd ran out of timeouts. It was the end of the first half. And they drove up the field and, they could have took the field goal and went for points. And instead they ran a play and it went out to Uzama, who caught the ball. And he actually did a really good job. As soon as he caught it, he got up and he was sprinting back to the line of scrimmage because it's like, we need to spike the ball. And you could see Wilson kind of getting over there. Yep. And he went to spike it, but they spiked it too late. So it ended the half. And the only thing that really saved them was they started with the ball in the second half and got a touchdown straight away. But for me, with Zach Wilson, it's almost like he shows flashes of being really good, and then sometimes things just don't work for him. And this was another game where that
seems quite naive. That one, seems quite naive with that one. I heard another podcast describing it where those type of throws you're wanting it to be in the middle of the pitch.
If you're going to spike it,
the referee, yes.
Yeah, you're either spiking it, you have it right in the middle of the pitch, or you needed to have it right on the sideline. But the throw to Uzama, I mean, Uzama did an amazing catch in it, but he was a good 5-6 yards inside the line. So, I mean, he was never, and there was a guy right on him, so he was never ever going to get out. And fair play to Zama, like I was saying, he sprinted like with the ball kind of thing. For a big dude, he got over there quicker than he does when he normally receives and runs with it. So it just seemed to be the line just took too long to get up. And it's like, guys, you need to go quicker. Like there needs to be some momentum there, or they could have just kicked the field goal and took the 3 points. Of course, in the end, it didn't matter. They were able to win, but it was seemed to be a bit more to do with their defence and also the Broncos. Their play calling was absolutely bizarre sometimes. That they were trying trick plays and they were tricking themselves. Kind of thing, because there was a couple where you saw them try to do like the side, basically we'll try and lateral it and then go long, and then the Jets defense just swarming in and going, okay, we'll just tackle you over here, and you fumbled it now, like. So I don't know. It's Wilson for me. I think he does have the potential to be good, but that's 2 weeks in a row again where he's not quite shown it, but at least they got the win. And, if you're a Jets fan, you're maybe not happy, but at least they won.
For the Broncos, Liam, there's the talk today that Jerry Jeudy and who's our other star wide receiver?
Cortland Sutton.
Yep.
Cortland Sutton, they are available. They are looking to trade. I think they're just ripping it down, starting again for next year, aren't they? That doesn't seem to be working for Sean Payton, and he's in danger of having an even worse record and doing an even worse job than the guy who ever had it previously. I can't remember what happened to him. Is that what they should really do now? Is just cut the losses, try and trade, try and get picks, try and rebuild this team?
In some ways, yeah, but it seems I was kind of like looking at that game. It was very odd. The kind of first half were getting Wilson to run the ball, and we're making some success, and then Jets just kind of cottoned on. We'll just stop that, and then they had no ideas. And like talking about like Sutton, like he had like one catch for 13 yards, whereas he's probably been the best receiver all year. And it's like, why are you not trying to force the ball to him to actually make some plays?
Yeah,
it was just, as we were saying, like they are so bad all across the board, and their defense is ranked like 32nd, 31st for mostly every stat going or something like that. And it's just, I don't know. I just don't know how they are so bad. You look at the lineup, like they've got some like players, like what was it? Patrick Surtain made that good interception near the end, like spur them on, thinking Zach Wilson was going to mess it up again, and then also Russell Wilson himself fumbled the ball, and that was a pick six, wasn't it, into the end zone?
Quincy Williams knocked it out, and it was picked up, but he's celebrating the touchdown before the guys even picked up the ball. To be fair, if you watch that back.
I think the only real star of the Broncos just now is maybe their kicker, Will Lutz. Maybe he'll make an appearance in the preview crew this week.
That's what's his head? The young, I'm maybe not young, but like McLaughlin, like he caught my eye. Like he was lightning quick. Yeah,
he looked good, but it was kind of odd. He kind of kicked off straight away, got the touchdown, and they didn't use him like in the second half. It was really weird usage of him, I thought.
Yeah.
But,
it's weird looking at the stats. Samaje Perine was their top receiver with like 73 yards. Perine's good out of the backfield, but when you've got somebody like Jeudy and Sutton, surely you've got to get them more involved.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, Jaleel McLaughlin actually got 68 yards with 9 rushing attempts there as well. Wilson himself thrown just under 200 yards, 196 yards for 2 touchdowns, which efficient, you would say, but kind of looking for more for a Super Bowl winner. Samaje Perine only got the 22 yards from his rushing. A disappointing performance from the Broncos yet again, I suppose. But the one performance that was maybe a wee bit disappointed with wasn't Zach Wilson. And it certainly wasn't Breece Hall. It was Garrett Wilson, who I think last year we'd been hoping for really, really big things from. But the 54 yards from 3 receptions, I think it was 7 targets he had in the game. It's just not happening for him. I think we'd all had really, really high hopes for him with Rodgers and what the chemistry that they could do, but it just doesn't seem to be working with Wilson squared this year, Stu.
Yeah, I mean that's he did have like because there was one catch, I think it was in the first half. Like there was one that was absolutely outstanding. That one that was out near the touchline on the side for the first down. That looked fantastic, and he clearly is a talented. He's a talented wide receiver. I just, when you look at that thing of like what 3 receptions on 7 targets, how much of that is Garrett Wilson in terms of the 4 missed? How much is Garrett Wilson? How much is Zach Wilson? And how much is say like Pat Surtain or whoever that's on him in this game? So I don't know. Like the Broncos, as bad as they are, I think maybe the one thing they're okay at is stopping wide receivers occasionally. If they are going to do anything on defence, like that's the one place I would say they maybe have a chance at stopping. So.
They can't stop the run, to be fair. I think that's been made abundantly clear.
I imagine Keith's going to get to that, but I would like to just remind who did I pick as my stick on? I only get the 1 touchdown, but who did I pick as my stick on running back?
You were absolutely right. They're leaning on him. Breece Lightning himself, 177 yards from 22 rushing attempts, 8 yards per attempt. But just the 1 touchdown it was in the end. But you've got a player like that.
Yeah.
It was a monster touchdown, to be fair.
It was 72 yards or something like that. It was massive. Hey, I also
talk us through it.
Oh, sorry.
We'll get to him later on. Then talk us through it then, Studs.
His touchdown run, what I find absolutely hilarious is it like his 72-yard touchdown run, you take that off him and he still broke 100 yards. Do you know what I mean? It was just the Broncos defense cannot stop the run. It's the key to beating them. The Bears were running all over the top of them last week as well. Every team that's played them, I think, has ran over the top of them. Just look at Miami when they had A-Chain and Mostert, who both had ridiculous games against them. I mean, that run, and that's what we kind of got a little bit of last year for Breece Hall. We've got those big breakaways, and if he gets free, there's probably a 90% chance he's housing it. If he can get out that first contact and into that secondary, he's going to house that ball because the speed is absolutely electric. And it's good to see that the injury for last year hasn't really impacted his speed. He's still got that breakaway speed to get into the secondary.
So what you're saying there, Studs, is put the money on the Broncos as their next game is against the Chiefs, who the running game's not been the best so far this year.
We've got the angriest runner on the planet against that defence. I said we'll just put our running backs out there and you'll have McKinnon will have 100 yards, Pacheco will have 100 yards. I'll even go as far as to say CEH will score a touchdown against
Sleeper running back pick of the week, CEH. Pick him up. That's what Studs is saying.
Terrific.
It's got to be Pacheco this week for certain. He's off the back of his first 100-yard rushing game as well. Is that right? Was that this week? Was that last week?
Building up for it. Listen, we'll look at that in the preview this Thursday evening. Superb. Right, guys, anything else we want to add to the Jets and Broncos game?
Ty Conklin. I picked him as a sleeper.
Yards, I know
that he ripped off any touchdowns or anything, but I figured he was a good sleeper pick as a tight end for this week. And he did all right, but top receiver in the Jets. So I could see he seems to have a good connection with what we're talking about the Zach Wilson. He's the one guy I would say he does seem to have a good connection with because that's consistently over the past few games when he's looked for him, he's found him, and he's been able to get him kind of a few yards there. So I think Ty Conklin moving forward, if you want a tight end, maybe grab him if he's still available in your waiver wire.
Fantastic. The Jets have got a game against the Eagles, and then it looks like they've got their bye week before they are away to the Giants. So a busy couple of weeks for them coming up. Big preparations for the derby. Do they call them derbies in the NFL? Is that a big thing? The rivalry there?
Rivalry,
yeah. Right, good. Right, thank you, gents. That's the top 3 matches that we've been looking at. I talk about Brian about going over the hour mark for us. Look at this now. Right, let's fire through. Let's fire through the rest of the games, guys. But this is not been prepared for at all. I'm just going to come to you randomly. So, Liam, I'll start with you. Bears 40, Commanders 30.
20.
Oh, sorry,
20.
Yes. My dyscalcular coming in.
You're just used to the Bears giving up in it, at least 30 points a game. But...
I suppose the main thing is Fields, but no, it should actually be Moore. I suppose Moore got 3 touchdowns, was it? So
He did.
Or should be 4.
Absolutely should have. How was that flagged? Ridiculous. What was the so? We're doing the rest in one. Just what's the main talking point, the main breakaway part of the game then for you? So, the DJ Moore's performance there. Okay, Stu, I'll come to you next then for the Texans Falcons. Texans 19, Falcons 21.
My big takeaway from it was Ridder actually looked good, kind of thing. Maybe not good. He looked like a decent, serviceable NFL quarterback. Yeah. And the Falcons, it was an interesting game because I rewatched that one. But yeah, Ridder, I think, is the takeaway for me. 329 yards and a touchdown. Did pretty well.
He did. Ridder wasn't a ready for a change. So there we go.
Ridder was a ride.
Studs, come to you then for the Panthers 24, Lions 42.
It's the Monty show again, to be honest. David Montgomery, just unbelievable on that one. And then Jared Goff even getting a rushing touchdown. I think we need to get that in there somewhere. He's not exactly known for his rushing ability.
He's had 2 this year.
And that was the Lions without Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs as well. So Laporta stepped up. So did, as you said, Montgomery as well. So cracking game. Stu, back to you then for the Titans 16, Colts 23.
Oh, there's no Moss and that rolling boulder. So Zach Moss, even with the return of Jonathan Taylor, he ripped off 2 touchdowns, 165 yards. So had the bulk of the carries. So he's clearly not going to give up. His kind of, if they're doing a hot hand thing, he's trying to make sure he has the hot hand kind of moving forward.
It certainly has. Worrying that Anthony Richardson's going to be out for a couple of weeks now with a shoulder injury.
At least 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah, Minshew seems like a good backup plan though. If you're going to have somebody step in, he didn't.
I think they knew that something like this was going to happen. It's a great piece of insurance to have. But Richardson does look the part. He looks great. He's a complete athlete. He's got a great arm on him. If he can just learn to protect himself and look ahead to the next games, because it's all about the war and not the battle for him. He just seems to be going into each down, want to win it as if it's the game clincher. He really needs to look a wee bit further ahead. Some of the the tackles coming in to get them. Liam, what about the Giants 16, Dolphins 31?
It was just, I suppose, just more running, wasn't it? It was on double offense again, and poor Danny Dimes, I think, in summary.
Danny Dimes, after they get paid, somebody's saying poor Danny Dimes.
Now with a neck injury, I think now, isn't he? I think. So.
A redneck. Studs, Saints 34, Pats. Is that 0? Is that?
Yeah.
I do not.
They've laid a big egg there. Wow. Go for it, Studs.
I'm going Honey Badger to the house. Loved Honey Badger when he was at the Chiefs. And then he's got the pick 6 on Mac, which pretty much kind of sealed the game and led to Mac getting pulled out, benched. I think they're saying pulled out for Zappi. But that's 2 weeks in a row that you've seen Mac Jones getting pulled out. But the scary thing is Zappi's actually looked worse than Mac Jones when he's been in the 2 games.
That's surprising. He'd actually done quite well last season when he'd been in. I thought he would have done better because he'd got promoted to the practice squad. I think he'd been cut altogether, but he seems to have hung about a wee bit there. So, surprising from the Pats. I think it may be time to have a wee discussion about Bill Belichick and the future of the Pats. Maybe try and get a couple of Pats guys on for a wee round table on that one. I think that'd be quite interesting to hear their thoughts on it. Who's next? Stu, come to you for Ravens 10, Steelers 17.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Steelers, because they've, along with, we'll get to the Bengals game, but like along with the result in the other game, we actually still have a bit of a chance at maybe winning the division now, because before, it's just, my pun line though was easy pickings for George.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, because
nice,
130 yards, touchdown, and game-winning touchdown as well at the end. Yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah, I thought he'd maybe, I went a Baltimore droppings.
Yeah,
they did. I mean, it was either way, but no, fair play to the Steelers. Like I don't normally back the Steelers, but thank you guys. You made my Thanksgiving.
It's not getting away from you, as you said. The Ravens and Steelers now 3-2. Your guys are
Steelers
2-3,
top of the
Steelers
division.
top the division. That's
it's amazing.
Terrifying. Liam, Eagles 23, Rams 14.
I think it was the battle of the wide receiver ones. Brown against Cup back doing his Cup things, and Brown making some catches as well. It was an impressive catch. He had a one-handed catch, I think, and ran on, I think, as well.
He did AJ Brown again doing terrific stuff, and it's maybe like the City. It's workman-like for the Eagles. They're not being too flashy. They're just rolling on. 5-0 Eagles, rolling on. Stu, I'm going to come to you. Studs, I'm going to come to you for the Bengals 34. Cardinals 20. I know, tease you a wee bit there, bud.
So, are you seriously coming to me? I thought you would just take your piss at
I'll come to you.
I had a good
he
chase
gets
but anyway, there you go.
He gets to wax lyrical about them every other time. Right, let's go for it, Studs.
It's got to be...
Lyrical.
I think it's got to be Jim Chase, isn't it? It's just feed the guy more. He's nearly 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was literally just about Jim Chase.
Cincinnati record as well. So 50.
Wow.
He broke the record for most receptions in a game. So by a Cincinnati wide receiver.
I can see that continuing with T. Higgins being out.
Mm-hmm.
Aye.
Nah.
See him being like Ryback in the WWE, feed me more.
Yeah.
Jets Broncos we've covered. Let's look at then still you can get your own back on them. 27, the Chiefs 27, Vikings 20.
What would be a good pun for this one? I mean, it's kind of just
I was nice, Stu. I was nice.
I know. That's the thing. I didn't want to be mean because it's like, honestly, like it's just that thing of.
What rhymes with ref?
No, I'm not going down that route. Actually, I don't have a pun for this at all. But like one of the things I loved from the game, and I think you guys do this quite a lot, was at the end when the Vikings had the ball and they had to go for the Hail Mary to try and win it. I love the fact that you send Travis Kelce out. Put him in the end zone, like because it's a defensive play, and so does he count as a dual threat player?
I think he was already a dual threat, so
I know.
Threat.
He's the triple threat. Like he sings, he dances, and he acts. I bet he's going to be in movie soon with Taylor Swift. So there you go. Like, it was in the end. I think it was actually a fairly easy win for the Chiefs for what I saw of it. Like again, it was one of the games I had on where we were getting folk in for dinner, so I couldn't sit down and watch it all. But I did clock the end of what was happening with the Hail Mary attempt.
Aye, it was a good sack by Mike Dara to finish it off.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
Go for it then. Liam finishes off with the Packers 13, Raiders 17.
I don't think he needs to say it in his face. Just tell you,
Poor Liam.
Josh McDaniels nearly gifted it back to us when he went for that. This was Josh McDaniels really messing up the game, wasn't it? He went for the field goal when he was like, was it 4-2 or something like that, and he decided to kick it. Like, I'll just try and get Jacobs to run it 2 yards and you're fine. So it was weird, but yeah, that's all I'll say. I won't go on a rant.
Do you know what I couldn't believe? I could have watched the first quarter and I could not believe Mike LaFleur absolutely reaming Musgrove as he came off in that first quarter after I think he must have no ran a route right. It just, I mean, the guy's a rookie and it looked like he was absolutely tearing him one.
Wow.
Aye.
Yeah, look, it's bye week next week. That's I suppose in some ways, so it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I'll have a wee look at that once we finish. That brings us to a nice wee conclusion then, gentlemen. We've covered all the matches from a fantastic week 5. Again, the league's starting to take shape now. We're seeing a few surprise teams with the Cardinals, the Vikings, how badly they're doing. The Broncos, maybe a lot worse than what people were expecting as well. But the ones that were early favourites are certainly still rising, and just now it looks like it's the 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. It's theirs to throw away. So really, really looking forward to the rest of the season. Join us again this Thursday when the crew get together for the preview crew, and we will be looking ahead to week 6 there. Stu, thanks very much for spending some time with us this evening, buddy.
Oh, thanks for having me on. One thing before I go, Studs, are you wearing a Next Generation captain's uniform or command crew uniform?
Nah, that's my coach's jersey.
I just saw the red and the black, and I'm sitting there keep going like, is he wearing a Star Trek set of pajamas or something? No. I mean, like I say, thanks for having me on, and no, it's been a delight.
Live long and prosper, aye.
Aye.
Oh,
row your boat.
We're getting a bit tired here now. Liam, thank you very much for joining in with us. We try to stay away from your Packers a fair bit tonight.
I appreciate it. It's going to be a long, hard season, but that's what was expected, so that's fine.
Listen, that will come through. It'll come good for you again in the end. And Studs, thanks very much for joining us, buddy.
No, it's always eventually. Always a pleasure. Just on last night's game, just to rub it in a little bit, William. Josh Jacobs, with his performance and his touchdown, actually meant that I beat him in fantasy as well. So it got a double loss there.
I was more cussing the Saints defense, but against the bloody Pats.
Terrific. Thank you very much for listening. You can follow the crew on all social medias at Gridiron Crew. We are coming up on our first birthday, so stay tuned to our socials for some very interesting and special announcements that will be coming up from us there. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll speak to you later on in the week with the preview crew. And thanks very much, and speak to you soon.